Alright guys, so to finish off the lesson of 11.1, I wanted to go over a quick exit ticket. And so this one, it was just to describe the difference between an arc measure and an arc length. Now, what I want you to do is really think about the differences. We've talked about the arc measure in chapter 10. And so we know that the arc measure is just, it's for one, it's measured in degrees. And it measures the part of the circle, right? That arc that is on the circle. Whereas the arc length, it does involve the arc measure, but it's, if you notice something, it's also measured in units that describe the radius of that circle. So for example, there was one problem where we were working with a radius in centimeters, so the arc length was in centimeters. There was another one where we were working with a circle that had a radius with units of meters, so therefore the arc length was also in meters. So the thing is that the arc measure is, for example, if you think about it in a circle, it's like an arc, right? Whereas an arc length, imagine it being stretched out by a piece of yarn or string, and it's going to be a straight line that gives you the measurement for that particular arc. Again, it does involve the arc measure, but they are two different things. Okay, so now then there were three things I wanted to note as I was going over the lesson 11.1. One of the major things that can pretty much, if you were to, for example, the very first one is a pi. So pi in the calculator, make sure that now we know that's 3.1415. It keeps going on forever, right? But we're not going to actually round it this time. We're actually going to be using the exact number. So we're going to be using the pi digit on your calculator. So mine would be second and right on this one, on this button. So when I click second and this one, the arrow, I'm hitting the pi button. Okay, so that's one of the main things that I wanted to bring up. And then rounding, another thing is always rounding. We're always rounding it to the nearest hundreds just to be more precise, unless they are telling you otherwise in the problem. And then the last thing was paying attention to the units, which I covered over on this part. Just again, make sure that you are paying attention to those units. It's a very small thing, but that can, if you were to do that in a quiz or a test in the future, those would be points that would be docked off. So make sure that you're always writing your units, you're being careful with the rounding, and you're also using your pi button in your calculator. Let's see, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about was also the monitoring self-check. So we're going to go ahead and do just a couple problems to finish off this section. So in your textbook, there is a problem. It is number 1. So it says find the circumference of a circle with a diameter of 5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one here. So again, we have the circumference is 2 pi r, or we can say it's equal to pi d. If they're giving us if they want us to be working with the diameter, I'm just going to go ahead and use this formula here. So it would be equal to 5 pi. And I would just go ahead and leave it as is. This is the exact answer. So I would leave it like this unless they tell you to round it to a specific number. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and do another one. The next one is find the diameter of a circle with a circumference of 17 feet. So in this problem, they're giving you the circumference and they want you to find the feet. So we're going to go ahead and just write down the formula. So circumference equals pi d. The circumference is 17 pi d. And so if we want to isolate the d, I'm just going to go ahead and divide both sides by pi. And then d equals 17 over pi. And then I would just make sure that I'm also using the correct units, so feet. And in this case, it was also, it was actually inches. So 5 pi inches. Okay, that was pretty much it for chapter 11.1. Just again, make sure that you are reviewing the vocabulary words that we talked about. So the main three were circumference, arc length, and the radian, and then knowing the difference between the arc length and the arc measure. Okay guys, have a good one. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.